All right, guys, welcome back. We got another welding video for you guys today. Let's see what we got. Well, Arccaptain reached out to me again and they asked if they could send me an Arc250. I already had the Arc205 Pro and I've used this a couple times to stick weld just some random projects and it works great. I love how small it is. I've mentioned it before that I think that's where one of the strengths for these machines is they're small and mobile and they're easy to get in and out of places, and if you're in a cramped situation or you have limited space, I think that's one of the benefits of these machines. There's multiple times that I have been like, what should I weld that up with? I'll just take an Arccaptain because it's small and I can get it in there, and they're just a very accessible machine. Very easy to move around. So what we're going to do today is Arccaptain asked if I would compare these two machines. So we got the Arc205 Pro and the Arc250. So I think the first thing we're going to do is we're going to unbox the Arc250. So we'll compare the two machines and then we'll look at the features and, you know, we'll plug them both in and see what the interfaces look like, what the difference is there. So let's go ahead and open this up and see what she looks like. So as usual, got a ground cable, got my stinger lead, we've got our wire brush there, then our machine. Oh, looks like they also sent me some rod. Looks like they sent me some more 6013, so we're going to try that. And then we've got our user manual and some stickers. Right on. Go ahead and pull this out of the bag here. All right, so this machine is capable of stick welding and also lift TIG. We are going to try both functions, and I'm also going to run both of these machines on 230 volt. We'll go ahead and start with the Arc205 Pro. We'll run some 6010 and some 7018 and see how it goes. Okay, so one of the first things I'm noticing here is the leads on the 250 are thicker than the 205. Anyway, they're thicker. You can visibly see that they are thicker. So I think that is a good thing, especially where this one has a lot higher capacity, and that is on both the stinger lead and the ground lead. All right. So one of the big questions here is, will these machines run 6010? So I'm going to get some 6010 out. That's where we're going to start. I've got some coupons cut here. I just sheared some scrap. This is 3/8 plate. They're 4 inches long. And we're just going to do some T-joints. And we're going to run 6010 to start. I want to see if they'll do it. And we're going to try it out on both and see if there's a difference. Let's see what happens. All right, so I've got some 1/8 inch 6010. We're going to try that first. Let's turn our machine on our 205 Pro here. There's two modes here. There's a stick mode that says SYN below it. Let's give it a try. It might just be sync. I think maybe that's what it is, because I can choose the thickness of the rod and it adjusts the amperage as I change the thickness. But we'll try both modes just to see. So here we go. We're going to run a pass 6010 1/8 inch on 3/8 plate. Okay, so you guys probably noticed that it cut out on me twice there.
He's a genius, right? He's a genius.
Not bad, not bad. So there's our 60-10, first pass. I'm gonna change modes now, and I'm gonna go to just a regular stick mode, and I'm gonna run it at 120 amps. You know what, that might have also been the problem. I was running that at 100 amps. But I do wanna see if this mode makes a difference. So let's run it on this mode. Just the regular stick mode. Okay, a little hesitation. Keeping a lot tighter arc length now. And it seems like it's doing better. Little hesitation there. I think the main problem was I was running it too cold on that first pass. 100 amps is kind of cold for 1/8 inch 60-10. Okay, so hopefully you can see that. It's running pretty good. Just a couple little hesitations there. So I'm gonna go back to the stick SYN mode. It's on 1/8 inch, and let's go to 120. We're gonna run this on 120 and see if that extra kick in amperage is the key. Maybe. There we go. Okay, so it ran that whole pass without hesitation. So we'll clean that up and see what it looks like. I think that was my fault, not running it hot enough. I'm used to running 332 60-10, which I run usually about 90 amps, so I should have been running it about 120. So yeah, that's looking better. Okay, so you can see that top stringer, that's our third pass. And that actually looks really good. You gotta make sure you have the amperage where it needs to be, otherwise you'll get those little hesitations. You'll have a hard time keeping things lit if you don't have the amperage high enough. So with the amperage high enough, it ran it. Now, the next thing I wanna do, since we're on 60-10, let's bounce over to our Arc250 and let's run 60-10 on that machine. So I do like how bold the numbers are. And it looks like this one has the same sync mode. So it's got the same 3 modes. Stick, SYN mode, lift arc mode for TIG, and then regular stick mode. So let's go to regular stick mode. Let's just fire it up on 120 amps. See how she does. If it runs 60-10, that's a pretty big deal, because that's kind of always one of those things that I think has held Arccaptain back from the other competitors a little bit. Obviously with price point, they're super competitive that way, but they've had issues running 60-10. So if these machines will run 60-10, it's a game changer. This is the Arc250 with 1/8 inch 60-10. Hey, getting some hesitation here. That's on just the regular mode. So now I'm going to bounce over to the SYN. Maybe we'll go down to 110 and just see. Let's go to 110. First, let's clean this up, show you what it looks like. Okay, you can definitely see where it hesitated on this one. You can see those two spots there where there's kind of a cavity. That's where it hesitated. Okay, so now we're in the SYN, and I'm gonna run this same rod. I got about 3/4 of a rod left. We're gonna run it on 110 amps. It's running a lot better. That ran a lot better. For 3/8, you know, you got to remember I'm adjusting this for running 3/8. If it's something cooler, you're gonna have to turn it down or you just blow holes through it. But you're gonna have to find out what the machine likes and also what your material can handle. Son of a gun, that one ran good. I did get just a hair, just a little undercut at the bottom. And you got to remember, this plate's hotter than a firecracker right now. So the other reason I wanted to use this is Hobart rod that you can buy like up at Cal Ranch or at the hardware store. It's old, so typically rod runs a little different, especially, you know, 60-10. It'll run a little different when it's old versus fresh. And the stuff at the hardware store, I feel like it runs a little different than if you were to go buy some premium rod at the welding store. So it's a good test. I mean, this is typically, I think, what people are going to be running with an Arccaptain is hardware rod. Stuff you can get at Home Depot, stuff you can get at Cal Ranch, stuff like that. So let's go ahead and run another one. We're going to run this third pass on the top here. Same thing, 110 amps. Come on, you. Okay, so I got a little hesitation there. I'm not sure what the deal is there. It's almost like once it gets warmed up, or once the rod gets warmed up, something, then it kind of smooths out, and then it runs good. I'm gonna grab some premium rod off of my skid. It'll be 332 60-10, and then I want to run one and see how it does. We'll run it at 90 amps, but let's clean this one up and I'll show it to you. Okay, so you can see where the first hesitation was. It's not terrible, but it could be better. So let me go grab some fresh 60-10, 332. We'll come back and try one. This is actually Lincoln 5P Plus. Let's give this a run. This is premium rod and it is brand new. So it is 1/8 inch. We're gonna stick with 1/8 inch. I forgot that I had 1/8 inch. So here we go. Let's run another one. Lincoln 5P Plus. That's actually running worse. Okay, I'm gonna go back to regular mode and let's flip this over. Okay, so now we're in regular stick mode, and let's see if we can run one. It ran it, but there was a few hesitations there. And it definitely runs better with the cheaper rod than it does the 5P Plus. I am going to read the book real quick and see if there's a special setting I've got to turn on for 6010. Most welders do have a special setting for 6010. And I want to just check and make sure I'm not missing anything here. So, okay, so it looks like that right there, that little icon, that little logo, is your arc force. This is your hot start. So we can kind of play with those. I think if we turn the arc force all the way up, let's turn it up. Max is 100 amps. So let's turn the arc force all the way up. I thought I heard or read somewhere that if you do that, this will run a lot better with 6010. Let's try it. I am going to clean this one up and I'll show you guys what that last one looked like. And let's see how she does with the arc force all the way up. And I'm going to put this cheap Hobart rod back in. All right, let's clean this up, see how she looks. That one doesn't look too bad. We're gonna run one more on top of it. You know what, just for the heck of it, let's run another 5P Plus and see if it runs worse than the Hobart. Wonder if I turn it down. I'm gonna go to like 30 and see if that makes a difference. Definitely got worse. We're gonna go back up to 100. Okay. It's not liking the 5P Plus. So let's put some Hobart back in and see what it does. Goodness. Little hesitation. Here's the other thing I want to try. Let's try running some 332. Maybe that's just a lot for this little machine. So let's try running some 332 and see how it goes. I'm going to drop this down to 90 amps. 332, 5P Plus, 6010. Here we go. Okay, I don't know what happened there, but it hesitated for a while, and it was almost like once the rod heated up or once the plate heated up, I don't know, then it kind of smoothed out. It's blatantly obvious where things started smoothing out. Okay, so I had some hesitation here, and then you can see the rest of it, that smoothed right out. Here's the next thing I want to do. We're going to shut this machine off. We're going to go back to the Arc205 Pro because I feel like it actually ran the 6010 better. So let's shut the Arc250 off, go back to the Arc205 Pro, and try running some 332 60-10. All right, regular stick mode, 332 60-10 5P plus. And this is on the Arc250 Pro. Okay, towards the end there, it almost seemed like the arc was getting really weak. Let's go back up to 120, and I want to try to run another Hobart rod, 120 amps, 1/8 inch, 60-10. Fire in the hole. Still getting some hesitation there. Will it run 60-10? Obviously, I'm running some beads with it. Could you weld up a pipe fence with it? Yeah, you could. Does it run it as smooth as some of the more expensive machines that'll run 60-10? In my opinion, no. But I'm wondering if that's not why they sent me some 60-13, because that could be a good alternative rod if you want to run something like 60-10 that'll burn through rust. So we're going to leave this on 120 amps, but we are shifting gears. We're going to go to some 60-13. I've got this tacked up. So here we go, 1/8 inch 60-13. Well, I'm getting the same results as I was before, but that's on straight polarity. Let's go back and see how it runs. It's trial and error. Let's figure it out. So with that one, I really pushed the rod in there and kept a really tight arc. That seemed like it went better. Right there at the start, we had a little faux pas. See, there's that one spot, but towards the end it looked good. So let's do the same thing. I'm gonna run it on this other side. Let's see how she goes. I'm actually going to turn this up another 5 amps and see what happens. Man, this stuff is weird. It's like the slag rolls out in front of you. Same thing, I'm getting these little slag entrapments going on. Now I've tried just holding the rod tight in there, and then I've tried a weave. I tried a weave on there. I think I'm gonna try one more thing. I want to tack up another coupon here. I want to try a steep rod angle and a steep drag, and then I'll kind of push it back. Let's see what happens. I was actually told by a pipe fitter that 6013 is kind of a farmer rod. Okay, I'm interested to see how that one turned out. God, it's really weird. The slag looks like it's all full of porosity. I'll show you guys what the slag looks like. I'm not a big 6013 guy, so maybe you guys can tell me if that's normal, but... Okay, I'm thinking maybe that's the ticket. So that one turned out good. So that was a really steep angle on the rod. So I had it kicked clear over, and then I was kind of whipping it, kind of pushing it back on itself. Just watching that puddle. It does run 6013. Now, the moment we've all been waiting for. Let's get out some real rod. So here's some 1/8 inch 7018. This is also Hobart, old rod. I want to see how it runs. I'm running 125 amps. That's right where I want it. So let's run this one, try it. Goodness. 7018 is just God's gift to the stick welding world. I don't care what anybody says, it just runs the best. It's the smoothest, it's the easiest to weld with, it looks the best. It's the best. Now you can see why I say that. It just runs better. There's no undercut there. It's consistent, it's smooth, and that is a strong weld. We will switch back over, and I want to run one on the 250 with some 7018. So we'll switch over and come back, run a 7018 with that one. All right, guys, so now I've got the 250 hooked back up. I want to run some 7018 with that one. We're going to run piece of this cheaper Hobart rod, just like we did with the 205. All right, here we go. We're just gonna run one solid one, 1/8 inch 7018. This is the Hobart rod. Oh yeah, that's much better. Tell you what, for cheap Hobart rod, this stuff seems to run pretty good. So you can see the one on the bottom there. Both machines, Arc250, Arc205, run 7018 like a dream. I'm sure there's going to be people that are going to say, well, if the rod was old, it's probably the rod. Well, just so we can eliminate that from what the issue might be, I'm going to run a stick of the 6010, just the Hobart 6010. I'll run some 5P too, just to see the difference, but I already know this machine runs 6010 really well, so I don't think we're going to have an issue with it cutting out. But just to eliminate the fact that I think there's people that are going to think, oh, well, it's the old rod. You should get some fresh rod. Well, we did try fresh rod. We tried the 5P Plus and it still didn't run it the way it should. Can you get away with it? Yes, you could. But it is going to cut out on you sometimes. Or at least that's the experience I'm having. And I'm running this on 230 volts. So let's go ahead. We'll hook up the miller. We're going to burn some of the 6010 Hobart and let's see how it runs. All right, so you can see we got the miller hooked up. It is on 6010 mode. That's one of the other things that I don't understand about the Arccaptain is I would think if they could burn 6010 rod efficiently, the way that it's supposed to be burned, that it would have a specific 6010 setting. I would just assume that because I know typically a lot of these smaller machines have a 6010 mode. Here's some of the Hobart right here. I'm gonna pull one of these out. Let's see how this runs. We're gonna use new coupon. All right, here we go. So this is one of the things that Arccaptain wanted me to try. So they wanted me to try the 6010, the 6013. Okay, so there's our 6010 right there, 1/8 inch. You have to have a certain amount of current to run 6010. It's just the nature of the beast. And from my experience, I have not ran one of the Arccaptain machines that will consistently run 6010. Now, 6011 runs really well. So 6011 is a good alternative to 6010 if you can't run 6010. I would say if you're building pipe fence and you're using your Arccaptain, run 6011. It runs great and it's a good alternative. The machine won't be cutting out on you. That's what I would do. For what I've spent on the MaxStar, you could probably buy 4 of these Arccaptain. Does it do what I need it to do? Yes, it does. But this machine will also do what I need it to do if I use it within its means. The Arccaptain, I mean, it ran this like glass. I think for the money, it's impressive what they'll do. I think that right there tells the story, okay? It's not the rod, it's the machine. So we know from my experience, these two machines will not consistently run 6010. You could probably get away with it, but just be aware it is gonna cut out on you. My advice would be just run 6011. So that's probably going to wrap up the stick portion. Let's bounce over to TIG and let's run both the Arc205 Pro and the Arc250 using TIG and let's see how they do. Okay, so I did want to mention something. If you're going to run TIG with the Arc250 or the Arc205 Pro, you've got to have the air-cooled scratch start setup. And this is what it looks like. I was digging through my torches and I thought, oh heck, I don't know if I have just a regular air-cooled torch setup for these. I could have swore I remembered using this on a different machine. So this is what it looks like. So you got your DINS connector and then there's a gas hose coming off of it. So this is where the torch gets its voltage from. If you didn't have this type of setup, then your torch wouldn't be hot because the other setup they sell looks like this. So it's your torch hose. It's got the amperage control here, and then there's a hose here that hooks to your gas bottle. It gets its voltage through the hose where you connect it to the machine, and then there's a gas port on the machine. So you go from the gas bottle to the machine, and then from the machine you hook this on, and that's where it gets its voltage, and then this is where you get the control for the finger control. So there's two styles, so just be mindful of that, because if you want to run TIG with this type of setup, you'll want the air-cooled DIN setup, because there is no way to hook that other style to this machine. If you haven't seen these, this is just your manual gas valve. So you just crack that open, and then you'll hear the argon start to flow, and then you scratch start it. So we'll get the torch all set up. It's a 17 style torch. We'll get it all set up with some consumables. I'll get my bottle rolled over here and hooked up. Once we get all set up and ready to strike an arc, we'll come back. Okay, so I wasn't going to show this part, but I figured it might be beneficial to some so that they can see how to set up a torch. Okay, so this is what you get when you order the torch. Now, I'm setting it up with Furic consumables just because that's what I run, it's what I like. What I've got here is I've got a gas lens here. So this is what it looks like. It's threaded on one end. That will thread in here, thread that into the end of the nozzle. And then from the back side, I can take my collet, which is what this brass looking thing is, and then my tungsten, slide it in through the back like so. So it looks like this. I can thread my cup on. I'm running a Furic number 8 Pro cup. And now I need a back cap, and the back cap, there's actually a back cap that comes with your little consumable set here. But to be honest, I don't really like the long back caps. I do like the small ones. There's a real small one, and it's okay, but I'm running a longer tungsten, and it won't allow me to use that smallest one. So I actually like these mid-sized ones right here. So it's kind of in the middle. It's nice because it allows me to use a little bit longer tungsten, and I like to sharpen both sides of my tungsten so that when I dip my tungsten, I can just go ahead and flip it over, and I'm not having to get up every 3 minutes to sharpen it. Okay, so that's the setup right there. So you can loosen this and then slide this out where you want. I usually put it about right there, and then tighten that down. And then I like to sharpen my tungsten when I'm welding mild steel or stainless steel. I'm running 2% lanthanated, and I like to sharpen it to a needle point like you see. Now that this is hooked up, if I crack this, you can hear the argon. Hopefully you can hear that flowing. Okay, so it's just a manual valve. We're gonna run some 332 ER70S6 TIG rod. 332 is a good one to run a test with just because it's kind of middle of the road. It's not 1/8 inch, it's not 1/16, but it's a good size rod just to run a good test with. I usually like to sit with TIG if I can. A lot of times you can't, but I'm gonna go ahead and get this tacked up here. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna scratch it, see if I can melt the corner of this to get it to tack. And then I also, everybody's eyes are different. I usually turn my hood down to a 9 on the shade. We're gonna turn this up to 150 amps. See how that goes. You definitely want to snap out. Otherwise you get this big old long arc going. That's when you get that big sound, that here we go. Okay, That turned out pretty good. As it heated up, my bead started to get a little bit wider, but runs good and smooth. I do want to switch over and run one on the back side of this with the 205, just see how it goes. So let me switch machines over and we'll run one on this back side. Okay, so I got the Arc 205 Pro hooked up. I am gonna flip my tungsten over. That is one of the things about lift arc machines and scratch start machines. You tend to go through your tungsten relatively fast because you're not jumping the arc with high frequency. It just is what it is. So I've got this switched over. I did look at the top end on the Arc 205 Pro and it's 205 amps on the top end. So I don't know that you would need that much power if you were just gonna buy this to weld something, you know, around your shop at home. That's quite a bit of power. I didn't check the top end on the 250, but I will. I'm sure it's close to 250 on the Arc 250. So we're switched over. Let's go ahead and strike one up here and burn one with the Arc 205 Pro. And I don't know how you guys are, but I always have to warm up a little bit. I swear my first weld is never my best weld. I always have to kind of warm up a little. Probably should have hit this with a wire wheel. I did grind off the mill scale on both sides of this before I started, but because I welded that other side first, I probably should have hit it with a wire wheel because there was some mill scale on the back of this and I can see it floating around in the puddle. Because some of that is floating on the top, I'm going to go ahead and hit it with a wire wheel before I show you guys. Okay, same thing happened here. It got a little bit wider towards the end just because it got hot, but ran good. This seems like it runs pretty good. If I just touch it to the material and then pull it back, it fires the arc up. The arc starts were crisp. Like I said, with this type of machine, you really want to snap out pretty hard. Otherwise, if you try to be gentle, that arc will be about this long and it'll be just roaring. You definitely want to snap out fast and cut that arc off. Here's the thing. For somebody that's looking for a machine in their garage, a machine that's capable of stick welding and TIG welding, or, you know, if you're going to use it around the farm or whatever, you run 6011, 7018 all day long. I've burned tons of rod with the Arccaptains around my shop. They've always ran really well. Like I showed you, it'll run 7018 like glass. It'll run 6011 like glass. 6010, I still think they've got some work to do to get the machines to where they're gonna weld 6010 really smoothly. If they were to get to the point where they were putting the components in the machines to get 6010 to run the way it really needs to run, I really am afraid that it would push the price point to that part where you'd be competing with, you know, people like Everlast, kind of in between a Miller or Lincoln and an Arccaptain. God, for the money, they do run good, and it's amazing how small they are and mobile and convenient. So, you know, you take a look at some of these and it really is amazing at what they'll do. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys got something out of that. If you're interested in any of these Arccaptain products, I'll leave the links in the description below. I'm going to leave links for both the Arc 250 and the Arc 205 Pro. I'll leave a link for the main website for Arccaptain if you want to check out some of their other machines. I did just find out that Arccaptain came out with more of an industrial MIG machine. Kind of excited to see that one. So anyway, check them out. Thanks as always for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed it. See you on the next one. think the first thing we're going to do is we're going to unbox the Arc250. We're going to compare some things. So I think the first thing we're going to do is we're going to for a minute. So I've got some 1/8 inch 6018 here. No. I don't know, that seemed like it ran, whoa. That seemed like it ran pretty dang good. So let me sure it's fun to get started. And I want to try steep rod angle and a